Another day, another said the quiet part out loud thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s independent presidential campaign is distancing itself from. You'll remember last week it was a fundraising email calling January 6th defendants activists. And this time it's a pretty shocking admission from a New York campaign staffer, Reid about the campaign's real goal.
The Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Whether you support Bobby or Trump, we all oppose Biden. 270 wins the election. If you don't get to 270, if nobody gets to 270, then Congress picks the president, right? Right now, we have a majority of Republicans in Congress. So who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick if it's a Republican Congress? They'll pick Trump.
Those edited comments are part of a presentation to Republican voters since deleted from YouTube. NBC News obtained the fuller video from a source who downloaded it, and Palma hasn't responded to NBC's request for comment. She's a longtime anti-vaccination activist in New York State. In 2020, the New York Post reported on Palma as the founder of an anti-vaccine group, My Kids, My Choice. She said, quote, "COVID is God's gift to the vaccine choice movement. It's woken up so many people and put us in a national spotlight," unquote. So naturally, it makes sense she's an RFK fan. In the video, she identifies herself as the campaign's New York State director. But according to Kennedy's campaign, Reid is a ballot access consultant responsible for scheduling volunteer shifts for our upcoming signature collection drive in the Empire State, adding that she is not involved in electoral strategy nationally or in New York. This was not a campaign event. Palma was speaking as a private citizen, and her statements in no way reflect the strategy of the Kennedy campaign. Joining me now is freelance investigative journalist Jacqueline Sweet. Jacqueline, thank you for being here. Ms. Palma, what is her connection to the campaign?
She's known Robert Kennedy for a long time. She was actually made vice president of his children's health defense nonprofit, which, as many know, believes that all vaccines are risky.
And meaning not just COVID vaccines.
Childhood vaccines.
Yeah, meaning MMR, meaning measles vaccines, all of it.
Right. So she's been an activist in local and then state-level politics. She was advocating for loosening the restrictions on religious exemptions for vaccinations in school. And in 2019, New York State did away with religious exemptions. So that's been her focus of her lobbying for years.
So she wants kids with measles to go to school with kids who don't have measles.
She wants children who are not vaccinated to be able to go to school. And she previously wanted the schools to not even investigate the religious exemption.
And she shares that with RFK Jr., right? I mean, well, let me just play RFK Jr. because when she said, what she sounded like she was saying is that the magic of their campaign is that it would help Trump get in. Here's what RFK Jr. said last week on CNN.
I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns.
Now, we know that what he was angry about being censored about was his anti-vax statements. So as you look at this campaign, does it appear to be a campaign designed not so much to make RFK Jr. president, but to ensure that Biden is not president because RFK Jr. is angry that he's not allowed to parrot anti-vax statements on the private Twitter and Facebook?
It's interesting because the campaign has since walked back Palma's role in the campaign, saying, but she has been aligned with Kennedy for a long time. They've known each other, and she does have a role in the ballot push. And there's conflicting statements, but she says that she was asked, "Can I push this? This would help Trump at the very
minimum."
least." And she says that she asked to be able to use that, and they said, "Okay." So
that speaks for itself. These are the states in which RFK Jr. is on the ballot. Right now, he's on in Utah. That's 6 electoral college votes. He's got enough signatures for New Hampshire, Nevada, Hawaii, North Carolina, Idaho, and Nebraska. A couple of those, New Hampshire, Nevada, and North Carolina, are pretty important states. But the total for all of that would be 45 electoral college votes. So he does have the potential it's not clear he could win any states, but he definitely is a threat. And the polling shows he's equally a threat to Biden and Trump. Inside RFK Jr. world, are they working toward one of two scenarios they prefer? Somehow RFK Jr. becomes president or Donald Trump becomes president?
It's hard to know what's in their minds, but we can look at who's materially assisting the campaign at this point, whether it's people hosting fundraisers or the people who are actually doing the on-the-ground work with getting out the signatures. And they seem to largely come from very pro-Trump factions. So if you look at sort of who's doing it as a clue, that tells us, I think, somewhat of where they're,
that they prefer to have Trump be president. And is his campaign being driven almost entirely by the anti-vax movement, or is it just that and conspiracy theories? What is it?
I think there's a lot of overlap between those, but if you look at some of the top staffers, they do come from his nonprofit, and a lot of the fundraising and the fundraisers and the state-level support are really coming from this anti-vax movement. But the anti-vax movement is, in a way, a conspiracy movement.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
There's a lot of overlap, and that goes with the anti-government kind of, this election was stolen, Palma and some of her other anti-vax people who are working on the campaign. They were staunch believers that the election was stolen in 2020.
So they've a little bit of both, a both and, if so. Thank you very much. Jacqueline Sweet, thank you very much for being here. And that is tonight's